Snow White and the Real Seven Dwarfs by María Fernanda Flores Moscoso. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful teenager living in a big and amazing castle with her wonderful and lovely stepmother. They had a really nice relationship. They were like friends. They were known in the town because of that. People could see they truly loved each other, and that was something that people found admirable. Really deep in the forest, there was a little house surrounded by beautiful and colorful flowers. It was pretty, but there were living 7 bad and furious dwarfs. They didn't like to share with humans, and for that reason, they were not kind or friendly. Also, they spent all the day working at the mine, obtaining gemstones because they wanted to be rich. They were really greedy. For many years, they were planning to attack the castle because they wanted to be as rich and powerful as Snow White and her stepmother. They thought that if they kidnapped Snow White, the queen, her stepmother, will pay a lot for her rescue. What they didn't know was that at the castle, the economic aspect wasn't good. They had a lot of debts, and the stepmother and Snow White had to ask other kingdoms for help. However, some days later, the dwarfs attacked the castle. They were all wearing black to blend in with the night. They were extremely quiet and nimble. For that reason, no one realized what was happening that night. Everything went smoothly. They took away Snow White while everyone at the castle was sleeping. The dwarfs took some time for writing and letting a letter explaining what had happened and asking for money for the rescue. The stepmother didn't know what to do. She was sad and confused because she didn't have the money for the rescue. But as fast as she could, she sent letters to the nearest kingdoms. The problem was that the kingdoms were too many months away, so she couldn't do anything else but wait. After some weeks, she decided to send her bravest, cleverest, and strongest man to look for Snow White into the deep forest. He was the hunter, who was also really handsome. The stepmother couldn't wait anymore. She was missing Snow White, and she was afraid about how she could be. The hunter started his search. The first place he visited was the mines, but there he didn't find any trail of Snow White. Thus, he had to be careful because the dwarfs were working and he couldn't be seen. He decided to continue to the dwarf's house, and for his surprise, he saw from afar Snow White cleaning the windows. He entered into the house and he could notice that Snow White had some chains around his ankle. At that moment he understood why she didn't run away from the dwarfs. Snow White told him that she was fine, but that the dwarfs forced her to do all the housework and also cook for them breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day since they kidnapped her. She was tired and she wanted to go back to the castle. He stayed all the night outside, but he couldn't sleep because he was thinking on how he might save Snow White. Suddenly, he discovered that near the house, towards a big and beautiful tree, there were some plants used for sleep and dozing, and he thought on a plan. He picked up some of them and went to the house. Snow White was awake because she was washing the dishes. The hunter knocked softly at the window for catching Snow White's attention. He explained her what did the plants do and how they could use them for escaping from there. He proposed Snow White that she could prepare at breakfast a delicious cup of tea using the plants, and after the dwarfs fall completely asleep, he would enter into the house and help her escape. Snow White loved the idea. She accepted the plan. Next day, early morning, The dwarfs woke up as furious and unfriendly as always. They asked for the breakfast, and Snow White served them first the delicious cup of tea. At the beginning, the dwarfs found the taste a little bit strange, but then they enjoyed it. They drank it so fast that the effect appeared only 5 minutes after they finished it. The hunter entered into the house, and with his big axe he started hitting the chain. He did it again and again and again, but the chains didn't break. The iron they were made of was the strongest of the kingdom. After some minutes to attempt to break the chains, they realized that they had to find the key to release Snow White, or otherwise they couldn't escape. They began searching for it, Snow White in the kitchen and the hunter in the room, but no one found it. Snow White remembered that the oldest dwarf put the key around his neck. So she told the hunter, and both walked towards the oldest dwarf. Snow White, with her soft and gentle hands, took the cord around the dwarf's neck and took out the key. When she was about to finish, the dwarf seemed to awake. He said and whispered some words that they actually didn't understand and fell asleep again. Snow White and the hunter couldn't almost breathe because they thought the plan was ruined. The hunter helped her to open the padlock from her ankle, and as fast as they could, they ran away from the house. They never looked back. They just ran and ran because they didn't want to see the dwarfs again, or at least as they were out of the forest. After some hours of walk through the forest, they finally arrived at the castle, safe and sound. Snow White hugged her stepmother strong as she never did it before. Both cried because they were happy of being together again. Snow White also hugged the hunter and expressed him her gratitude for what he had done for her. The stepmother sent some guards to arrest the dwarfs, but when they arrived, there was no one there. The dwarfs had escaped. They looked for them for a long time, but they never appeared again. Snow White and her stepmother lived in the castle happily as they have been before the kidnapping. The hunter and Snow White become really good and close friends. No one really knows if they got married or not, but everybody in the kingdom lived happily ever after for many, many, many years. The end.
Created using Powtoon.